The video begins with our heroine Lucy driving a red sedan in a desperate escape, while a black car chases closely behind. Inside is a man named Lucas, a twisted serial killer believed to be behind multiple murders, and Lucy seems to be his next chosen target. Overcome with excitement, Lucas loses control of his steering and comes to a sudden stop by the roadside. Refusing to give up, he moves to the back of a pickup truck, pulls out a gun he had prepared, and fires directly at Lucy's car, the bullet piercing through the glass. Luckily, Lucy is not injured, but the shock and fear from the gunfire cause her car to spin out of control and flip over on the roadside. Seeing this, Lucas loads another bullet into the chamber. After noticing no movement from the car, he quietly loosens his grip, but then he spots a woman's hand reaching out from the window, prompting him to rush forward. Desperate to survive, Lucy crawls out through the car window, but instead of running away, she stands defiantly in the middle of the road, provoking Lucas to run her down. As the vehicle is about to hit her head-on, Lucy quickly dodges to the side, causing Lucas, unable to control his speed, to surge forward recklessly with his car. That brief moment gives Lucy the chance to escape, and she turns and runs deep into the forest. Following the direction he had glimpsed earlier, Lucas takes his gun and prepares to continue chasing Lucy. Meanwhile, Lucy hides behind the trees, carefully watching his movements. When she turns her head, she discovers a makeshift tent built from branches, with bottles of alcohol and some scattered belongings on top. Grabbing a bottle, she hides behind a large tree, gulps down a mouthful, then bites onto her clothes tightly as she pours the alcohol over the wound on her head, quickly disinfecting it. Without making a sound, Lucy lights a cigarette, takes a drag, and then continues her escape. On the other side, Lucas is still searching for the woman, unaware that his target has already made it out of the forest and discovered a farmhouse. Seeing it as her only hope, she climbs over the fence, crosses the barbed wire, and frantically pounds on the front door. Meanwhile, Lucas notices the traces Lucy left behind in the woods and begins following them in her direction. At the same time, Lucy desperately slams on the door until the cautious owner, Hud, finally opens it, with his wife Alice standing behind him holding a spray can. Barely able to speak, Lucy briefly explains what happened to her at the doorway before collapsing from exhaustion. The old man, moved by her condition, helps her inside, tends to her wounds with simple bandages, and gives her a change of clothes. Faced with the kindness of the elderly couple, Lucy begins to put on an act, fabricating her story and claiming she is being hunted by criminals. She then subtly asks if they have any weapons for self-defense. Alice replies that their home has no weapons at all, with the only thing resembling protection being the spray can. At that moment, Lucy accidentally pulls at her wound and cries out in pain, prompting Alice to rush upstairs for painkillers, leaving Hud to look after her. Hud offers her a bowl of food to regain strength and kindly suggests calling the police, but Lucy insists it isn't necessary. Not long after, Alice returns with the medicine only to find her beloved husband dead at Lucy's hands. It turns out everything had been an act, a carefully staged illusion. The truth is that Lucy and Lucas had met by chance the night before, planning to engage in a dangerous and thrilling encounter. Before things began, Lucy questioned Lucas, asking if he had violent tendencies or if he was a murderer. Lucas firmly denied it. Unsatisfied, Lucy pressed further, asking if he was a serial killer, and again Lucas resolutely said no. With his clear answer given, the two entered the room, but suddenly Lucas struck Lucy across the face and then tightened his grip around her neck with brutal force. Just as Lucy is on the verge of suffocation, she suddenly whispers for him to squeeze harder, revealing that Lucas has been playing along all along. She has a peculiar desire, seeking excitement through such dangerous acts. Lucas unties the restraints on her wrists, and Lucy tells him it's her birthday and she wants a unique experience. But after drinking what Lucy gave him, Lucas quickly realizes something is wrong with his body and attempts to get dressed to leave. At that moment, Lucy steps into the bathroom, retrieves her taser, and ambushes Lucas as he tries to walk out. Dragging him back into the room, she straps him to the bed, leaving him powerless to resist, and he becomes the helpless victim of Lucy's twisted pleasure in sadistic torment. After satisfying her twisted desires, Lucy goes to the bathroom to search Lucas's wallet, hoping to grab something and leave, but unexpectedly finds a police badge, realizing he is an officer. Determined to eliminate any future threat, she readies a knife to finish him off, but a bullet whistles past her ear and strikes the wall. Dazed, she falls from the bed, while Lucas, due to his profession, habitually keeps a handgun strapped to his calf. He quickly fires several more shots, forcing Lucy to flee the room. After regaining some mobility, Lucas, aided by performance-enhancing drugs to keep his mind sharp, begins chasing Lucy again. At this moment, Lucy reaches a service station, slams the door shut, and pitifully begs the staff for help. When another customer tries to leave, the clerk suggests calling the police. Hearing those words, Lucy immediately pulls out a knife and stabs the clerk in the neck. Terrified by the red blade, the customer doesn't resist and hands over their coat and car keys, setting the stage for the opening scene. Realizing she had been deceived, Alice dares not resist and obediently follows Lucy to the stables to find the horses. Meanwhile, Lucas flashes past outside the room, and taking advantage of Lucy's distraction, Alice bolts and runs, while Lucy doesn't pursue her, having noticed that Lucas has already located her. She returns to the room to consider her next move. Shortly after, Lucas enters the room, sees the bodies on the floor, and realizes Lucy is present. However, instead of immediately chasing her, he methodically searches every room in the building. Relying on his police experience, he understands that Lucy committed the murders and concludes that the optimal course of action is to leave immediately. As time passes, the risk of exposure grows, and visits from relatives or neighbors could easily reveal her crimes. But Lucas also knows he cannot judge Lucy by normal standards, so he meticulously searches every corner. As he expected, Lucy is crouched in a hidden corner, waiting for him to leave. Seeing that his warning has no effect, Lucas doesn't hesitate and fires his gun, but unfortunately, he has searched the wrong spot. Carrying his weapon, he moves into the yard, scanning for any sign of where Lucy might have gone. At that moment, he notices frozen food scattered across the yard and a sudden thought flashes through his mind. He then returns to the room, focuses on the freezer, and even kindly says, "Come out," before shooting without hesitation. Lucy screams as he opens the freezer door and knocks her out with a single punch while she struggles. After rendering her unconscious, he doesn't act further but contemplates how to handle the situation. After careful consideration, he decides to follow proper police procedure, calling in colleagues for assistance. He then handcuffs Lucy to the freezer to prevent her escape. Seeing this, Lucy is puzzled why he hasn't tried to kill her, and Lucas explains that he has already called the authorities and that she will face police intervention. Unexpectedly, Lucy is terrified of the police, knowing that for the crimes she has committed, even after official procedures, she cannot escape the death penalty. Unwilling to endure a future of bleak, prison-bound existence, she breaks down, begging Lucas to end her life. Her tearful, desperate performance makes Lucas hesitate, but in that moment, Lucy pulls out the spray can and sprays it directly into his face. Disoriented and blinded, Lucas struggles to grab the can, but Lucy sinks her teeth into his neck, instantly rupturing his carotid artery. Overcome with shock and regret, Lucas collapses to the ground. Lucy doesn't let her guard down, knowing the police are already on their way. She needs to get the keys to free her handcuffs. Grabbing Lucas by the ankle, she drags him toward herself, but after a strenuous effort, he barely moves. Realizing time is running out, she flips open Lucas's pants, retrieves his small handgun, and hides it in her bra. Hearing the door open, Lucy pulls her pants down halfway, staging the scene to appear as a self-defense response to an attempted sexual assault. Fortunately, the people who arrive are not Lucas's colleagues from the precinct but local officers passing by on their patrol route. Seeing the scene, the female officer accompanying the patrol feels deep sympathy and helps Lucy pull her pants back up. Noticing her gunshot wound, she grows even more concerned for the girl. Lucy urges them to quickly remove her handcuffs, but just as the female officer is about to act, the male officer warns her to be cautious, explaining that the case has already exceeded their jurisdiction and must be reported. He emphasizes that they must maintain extreme vigilance toward the only living person at the scene and ideally preserve the scene as it is. Unexpectedly, the female officer objects, arguing that waiting for the special task force could take at least an hour, and the girl's injuries cannot wait that long. So the female officer unlocks the handcuffs, preparing to take Lucy to the hospital. Seeing his partner's actions, the male officer is clearly displeased, and the two argue over what to do. At that moment, Lucy begins her act again, convulsing violently, and amidst the female officer's shouts, the male officer reluctantly concedes and drives Lucy to the hospital. On the way, the elderly woman who had previously escaped blocks the vehicle, insisting on calling the police and claiming that someone broke into her home and killed her husband. As the officers try to calm her, a bullet suddenly pierces the glass, instantly killing the elderly woman. At that moment, Lucy drops her disguise, raising her gun to force the officers to hand over their weapons. The female officer complies first, surrendering her own weapon as well as the male officer's gun. While doing so, she tries to reason with Lucy, urging her to put down the weapon, turn herself in, and possibly receive a reduced sentence. Tired of the female officer's nagging, Lucy immediately orders her to get out of the car. Perhaps influenced by the officer's earlier kindness, Lucy decides to spare her, warning that she should run as far as possible before Lucy changes her mind. She then pressures the male officer to start driving immediately. After driving for a while, the vehicle comes to a stop, and gunshots ring out from inside. Blood sprays across the driver's side window. Lucy, using her legs to support herself, wanders aimlessly along the road. At that moment, a pickup truck approaches, and Lucy decides to rely on her acting once again, hoping to exploit someone's sympathy to achieve her goal. She tries to call out, but after taking just a step, she collapses to the ground. The female driver immediately gets out, helps her into the truck, and lets her rest inside. Once seated, Lucy is extremely weak, yet still clinging to a slim chance for survival, intending to grab her gun and take out the driver before escaping. However, the driver quickly sees through her plan, raises her handgun, and ends Lucy's attempt to seize her life. In this way, the mastermind behind multiple serial killings finally receives the punishment she deserves.